Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to introduce you to this new series called Illuminated Design. This new series is where we explore the living design beneath a person's path. We're going to go into conversation, chart reflection, we'll go into intuitive synthesis, and we get to see how someone's gifts, patterns, archetypes, and purpose are already moving through their life. And the heart of this series is simple. We get to see the pattern, trust the path, and live our design. Oftentimes, we're already living our design, but we question ourselves because we are trying to figure out if there's proof or if we're doing it wrong. But oftentimes, we're doing it exactly as we're designed to be. And when we can see the pattern, we get to trust the path. So, part of this session is we get to know the creator, and then we get to hear what they're up to, and then look at the design to see where that's corroborated. And because so often when we look at the chart, we're not looking for something separate from the person, we're looking for the deeper architecture that has been there all along. And we're looking for the thread beneath the experience. So the truth beneath that timing and that design beneath the creation. So something is always working under the surface. So this session is part of a special branch of Illuminated Design called the Creator Within. And the Creator Within is where I sit with a Creator Studio member and illuminate the person, the project, and the design beneath the creation. These conversations are part interview, part chart reflection, and part creative recognition. So we're not only asking, what are you creating? We're also asking, what part of you is being revealed beneath and through what you're creating? So today I'm joined by Guirlaine. Guirlaine carries the 27.3 in her life's work, or her conscious sun, which is the archetype that I call the Nourisher. So we are entering her design through the doorway of nourishment, care, responsibility, service, giving, receiving, and this deeper intelligence of what it means to sustain life. The 27 can be such a powerful archetype because it brings us into the question of how we care for others without abandoning ourselves, how we offer our gifts in a way that is life-giving rather than depleting, and how we learn the difference between obligation and true nourishment. And then how our creativity, our relationships, our work, and our purpose can be rooted in something more honest and with care. So with Guirlaine's life's work as the third line, we're going to talk to her and look at how this archetype might have learned through experience, how she learned through her experience, and what her experiences were doing this. So through trial, discovery, adaptation, lived wisdom, that process of figuring out how this actually works. So we'll explore Guirlaine's design, her creative path, and the work that she's bringing forward, and the patterns that are in her chart that help her and us understand that deeper intelligence that is behind her becoming, that is behind her life. And as you listen, I invite you to notice where you recognize parts of yourself too. These sessions are personal, but they're also collective mirrors. So when one person's design is illuminated, something in all of us gets permission to see our own path with more clarity. So welcome to Illuminated Design, the Creator Within. Guirlaine, I am so happy to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me. And I'd love for you to introduce yourself and share a little bit about who you are, what you're creating, and what season of the creative life you feel yourself in right now.
Wonderful to be here with you, Ashley. I was basking in your introduction. My name is Guirlaine Belizaire, and I am currently putting out there uh, a project that came through that was transmitted called Metamorphosis, which is a name that came about during a conversation with a friend. And as soon as she said it, it just clicked. This is the name for a program which is about supporting women caregivers. And I'm such a person. I am a woman, I am a caregiver. And as you noted, with the 27 as my conscious sun, caring is the continued theme of my life. I started my career wanting to be a heart surgeon, ended up becoming a teacher, and then ultimately working in the nonprofit social justice, social impact sector. So that has been the theme of my life. What are the different ways of caring for people? Metamorphosis is really the first public spiritual entrepreneur endeavor that I'm putting out there in the world. So, and also one that is deeply personal to me, given the experience I'm currently in as a caregiver. So, very exciting, very tender space I am in right now.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing about yourself and your work, Metamorphosis.
Mhm.
Do you want to share anything about your own personal journey that brought you here besides, like, the different
Mhm.
sectors of work maybe you went in, but what were some challenges that you faced that had you realize, oh, this is
Mhm.
needed in the world?
Absolutely. This goes back to COVID, actually. My mother was diagnosed with colitis, and we didn't know what it was for months. So it was months of doctor's office visits. It was months of being subjected to blood, and just it was just a very activating, very tender time.
Wow.
So there's COVID on the one hand, and there's someone you care for, someone I care for very deeply going through a very difficult time. We really weren't sure if this was a terminal situation, just uh a moment in my life that had me literally break down. I remember being in the kitchen talking to my two siblings who live in other states. At that time, I was in New York and saying, I can't do this any
Mm.
longer. I hadn't found the balance of pouring into myself in the midst of what was really an extreme emergency situation. And I am also blessed that I'm at a point in my life where I am in community with other women, we, the Generation X, the sandwich generation, who are also in the process of caregiving. So having that community was so life-giving and life-saving for me.
Mm.
Also, I have been on the spiritual path for decades. And so having that toolkit of spirituality was exceedingly important for me. So metamorphosis comes from that experience of me realizing in order to make it through this journey and not just make it through, really thrive and learn, it was important to bring in spirituality. It was important to bring in community. And that's the two pillars that really upon which metamorphosis stands.
Thank you for sharing all that. That sounds like a difficult initiation time for
Mhm.
you.
Mhm.
Uh, you do have 27.3 as your life's work, and I know you study gene keys and human design. How do you feel that that shows up through you? And also, how did that energy equip you to do what it is you're doing?
Yes, it's so interesting. When I was first introduced to human design and began to delve into my conscious sun, the 27, I just remember all this resonance. There was this explanation for me of, oh, this is why you were attracted to medicine. Oh, this is why you tend to be the caregiver in your familial as well as your social circle. Oh, this is why people tend to refer to me as mama or mother. This is why whenever I'm with a group of friends, and each of them older than me, I tend to be the one that people call mother. I tend to be the one that people think as the older person, as the elder, because of that caring energy, that nurturing energy that just emanates out. So I used to think that was a detriment. I used to think that was an insult, if you will. Now I'm better able to appreciate that people are feeling that nourishing archetype, that mothering archetype that is within me. And with the line 3 too, the experimental portion of it is for me, it's really a go as I learn as I go. Really is learning to care by being present with the people who are in front of me and really experimenting. If this doesn't work and we run into an issue, let's try something else. So never being afraid to play, if you will, and to appreciate that play is part of nourishing as well too. So it's been this beautiful journey of self-knowledge and self-acceptance.
Thank you for sharing all of that.
Mhm.
And I would love to bring up your chart so that the viewers can get a little snapshot of your
Mhm.
design, and we can kind of pick into some things that also might have played a role into some of the creations that you have brought out, some of the things that you've said yes to, the paths you've chosen, because it's
Mhm.
all by design, and
Yeah.
your design was always leading the way.
Mhm.
So let's check
Absolutely.
that out. And this happens to be hexagram 27. So we will be entering into your design through that portal that you came through when you were born. The sun was in gate 27. So we'll see that in your design, as well as everything else that is also part of you, makes you who you are.
Mhm.
Wonderful. Okay, so does this look familiar?
It does, yeah. Thank
Okay,
you.
perfect. So we can see that we did mention that Guirlaine has 27 as her life's work, and there's so much other things that are moving under the surface in her design as well. A lot of people understand their sun sign, their rising sign, their moon sign when they're first getting introduced to astrology, but a lot of people don't know there's, the other planets are different positions, and they're also in different gates activating different things. So we have all these different activations at the moment that Guirlaine was born, and all of those energies were kind of the portal she went through to create the personality that she has 88 days before birth, and then on the day of her birth it created the unique being that she is. And so the neutrino stream delivered all of the information that she needed to be able to become who she, wanted to become in this lifetime on earth. So Guirlaine has the 27.3 as her life's work, or her conscious sun. Her conscious earth is the 27.3. So we call the 27 the nourisher. Like I said, it's about caring, it's about sustaining life, it has that mothering aspect. And then we have the 28, which we call the daredevil. So the 27 is here to help support life continue to grow and care. 28 is about taking risks. 28 is about figuring out your purpose, figuring out what makes life worth living. So we have to take a risk, and sometimes we risk our life to figure out what that purpose is, because we get comfortable and then we don't figure out and feel into, well, why am I here? What is the purpose here? Instead of just like playing it safe. So the 28 comes in to kind of challenge us to feel into the deeper meaning of life. So we have these kind of personal initiations that bring us into this sense of purpose. And then Guirlaine also has in her unconscious or her design side the 41, which we call the originator, and the 31, which we call the orator. The originator is here in the root center to be able to anticipate and feel into something that's coming, something that is going to be created, something that is coming in the future. It's an Aquarius archetype. And so her inner light is shining in the energy of Aquarius. Most people think, okay, she has a sun in Taurus, which means this is, like very earthbound, very physical, very body oriented, very sensual, very connected to the senses. Aquarius is so different. It is futuristic, it is visionary, it is revolutionary, which also points to some of her work in being an advocate and supporting different groups of people. And that's what Aquarius does. It's concentrated on the collective and helping groups or the underdogs or causes that kind of touch their heart. Then the 31 in the throat center is here to be able, we call it the orator, is here to be able to communicate a direction, a path. They see the future, they see the horizon in front of them, and they're helping people move in that direction. So she's here to feel into, how do I care for others, for myself? What's my purpose? Why am I here? And then also connecting into her leadership, being grounded and rooted in leadership, and be able to, from her experience in life, third line, be able to become the teacher, the leader, the one that impacts people to help them move forward into the future that is probably life-giving, life-sustaining, that is going to help us for the better. Does that feel resonant? Would you want to add anything to your experience of these as we introduce the sun and earth activations of your design?
It sounds utterly resonant. As you talked about the 41 and it's and the Aquarian sign, I thought, oh, there it is. That's why working in the nonprofit sector, working in the social justice, social impact, is what I've done in my entire life. And I can't imagine not being in that sector in some way, shape, or form. And also looking at the 31 and the 41 and thinking even through metamorphosis, part of what I'm hearing is this necessity for us to slow down.
Mm.
And so that's the message that's coming through. And whatever I create, that will be the underlying message of we need to slow down. So that's really been that really resonates with me, this notion of anticipation, this notion of orator really speaking what is being downloaded. And
Mm.
for the 28, the daredevil, I think again back to COVID. And I'm a city slicker. I just grew up in the city, so I didn't grow up immersed in nature.
Mm.
And at the time of COVID, I was living maybe 10 minutes from Woodlands. And so I started out just doing the easy trail. I could see buildings and what have you. And I avoided the long trail deeper into the woodlands. And I remember one day something inside of me, the 28 said, "You're doing that long woodland path. There's no way." And that tickler would not stop until I actually walked that path. Nervous, shaking, scared, but I did it. And it changed my life. And I think it certainly helped me to care and nourish in a completely different way and to really hear messages that then couldn't go out. Because I remember during COVID, I would take friends out to the woods and we would go and we would walk in silence and we would kind of integrate what we learned. So I'm
Wow.
really appreciating living and having experiences with all the major activations in my chart here. So
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That is just so amazing to hear the even the initiation, the fear, like feeling the fear, feeling the edge, that 51 kind of shock of you want me to do what? What? Like this? And then like doing it anyways, to feel the courageous one in you, to be able to also like part of the reason we get initiated is to also connect with that God source energy, the greater spirit, and then being able to slow down, to be in nature, to move out of the hustle and bustle, which I think part of your Aquarian nature knows. Yeah, things can move really quickly. But your five is saying, we've got to slow down. We've got to have patience. We've got to feel into the moment and see what lives here. And even going into the woodlands helped you tune into, tap into that, which your environment is, your nodal environment is the 46th, the love of the body. So being physical, being in the body, learning how to live it with the senses, to love the body. And then your north node is the 25, which is the love of a greater spirit, the connection to God's source. So being able to be in a body, but also be connected to that higher power. And having all that open center, it allows you to channel that information, because anywhere that we have openness, we become a vessel for something. We can receive something, and we're not necessarily, there's nothing there. It's just empty, waiting to be filled. And so taking those moments to slow down, to become that receptive one, and to also learn how to, with your 23, translate some of those messages that come through. How do I refine it? How do I simplify it? And then how is it usable to then share, with others and integrate for myself?
absolutely. Yeah, very, very accurate. Really the integration and continuing how to translate it and to translate it in different ways depending on
Mm.
the person I'm engaged with.
Yeah. I feel really drawn to or attracted to. I keep looking at the 14, and I know
Mhm.
your Neptune is in the 14. I call this the powerhouse. And I think we've spoken about this before, but anytime I see this position, I really feel that these people have an abundance of resources and support in the spiritual realm. So, do you want to talk a little bit about your connection to Creator, God, Source, whatever you identify with, and how
Mhm.
you are a spiritual being in a physical body?
Wow, I'm just getting shivers and a little bit of emotional just thinking about this beautiful question because, and then you'd mention physical body, right? The 46. And without spirituality, I would not be here speaking to you in physical body. I went through a very significant initiation at the end, well, middle of my college career that really brought me to my knees. And led me down a very deep depression. And it was the benevolent universe, God, as I call it, bringing to my life spirituality that kept me here. And I will say continues to keep me in physical embodiment. There was a time in my life where, and even still now, that my mantra is me, myself, and God, me, myself, and the benevolent universe. Like that is where everything comes from. Like for me, it's touching a tree, it's looking up at the sky, it's prayer, it's mantra, it's journaling. Like that's where I'm fed, is in the spiritual realm, and the spiritual realm fortifies me to then nourish others and share. So that is really primary and essential for me, and where I turn to continuously for guidance, for nurturing. Nothing else in my life nourishes as much as the spiritual realm. Like it's everything to me, honestly.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, it sounds like all the resources, nourishment you need come from that connection to the divine, to
Mhm.
Creator, even
Mhm.
in those difficult moments. And just to speak a little bit about like the spark of creativity inside of you and the creator that you are, because we have creator, which is oneness, all that is like everything, and then we're an emanation of that. We are a little facet of the diamond of the whole creator. We're getting to give a unique expression of God within us, that spark of God within us. And I see that you have the spark archetype, which has a lot of creativity in it. It happens to be your core wound or your vocation sphere in a third line. However, it's in exaltation with the upward arrow,
Mhm.
being connected to beauty, being connected to creativity. It goes from entropy to freshness to beauty, and
Mhm.
feeling the pregnant potential in everything, like recognizing creativity, recognizing creation, recognizing creator, and also recognizing all this potential inside of you that wants to be birthed through you. And I
Mhm.
know that the one, and as well as all the other individual circuitry, which you have quite a bit of it can go through periods of melancholy, which can lead to depression, especially if we're like wanting it to change or be something different. Like knowing that, sometimes the seed in the ground is feeling it's in darkness, nothing's happening, what is going on here, and feeling like nothing's growing, nothing's moving. And I can see how that might make somebody feel depressed. Or even the 28, what is my purpose? Am I on track? What's happening here? So I'm not sure what initially triggered this bout or how long it lasted, but I
Mhm.
definitely want to hear from you about this, because I think a lot of people can relate to this, resonate with it. People go through depression all the time and they're not entirely sure why, and you may not exactly know why, but
Mhm.
I would love to hear about, what it's like to be a creator and have these periods of of depression and then aliveness and freshness, and how do you deal with the cyclical nature of being a creator and being in feminine form, which is already deeply cyclical and seasonal.
Mhm. Yeah, beautiful question. As I'm listening to you and I'm looking at the 28 and the question about what's my purpose, I remember I don't have many memories of my childhood, but I do remember at 4 years old looking up at the sky at source and saying, "Why am I here?" At
Wow.
4, asking that question. And so my family had their ideas about why I am here. So I entered college with the notion, oh, okay, I'm going to just do what my family wants me to do. That's my purpose.
Mm,
And when something is not your purpose, right? When you're not in alignment, going looking at that core wound, I think that's where the depression came from. That's where the entropy came from. There was a misalignment with what I was truly meant to do. There wasn't coherence in my soul, and I do believe that ultimately the body tells you, it keeps the score and it tells you. And so had it not been for ramming into the wall of depression, of entropy, um, I'd be a very different person than I am at this moment. So I look back, I can look back at the depression and the melancholy and realize that was fierce grace. That was really a period for me to be in the dark and to begin to shed the expectations of my
wow.
family that I needed to serve by being a doctor or heart
Mm,
surgeon. That wasn't what was meant for me. I was meant to, and I see you have heart projector. I do believe that the heart is what guides me.
mm,
It's not about cutting open somebody's chest to get to the heart. It's different way of engagement. So spirituality provided that freshness, almost like a clearing of, oh, whoa, there are other possibilities here. There are other ways to serve. There are other ways to help. There are other ways to live rather than following the family line. And then with creativity, realizing for me for the first time that I I am a creator. Like I began to write more poetry and listen to more music and go to museums and really just kind of feed that
wow.
artistic part of me with beauty. And beauty is a nourisher. It's really food for me. So, and in the current iteration of my life with this understanding, I have more patience with melancholy and entropy. I can say, oh, okay, something is inside, something is about to be
Mm,
birthed. Let me just give it the time that it needs in that darkness to really begin to grow. And that was even the path with metamorphosis too. Like a little spark came early in April, and then it took some time to really germinate underground. I didn't even share it with many people. And that was melancholic as well too. Like, will it ever come out? Is this really going to happen? And so really learning to be patient and understand, and really sharing too that orator with other creatives, like this is part of the process. There's nothing wrong. It's part of the process of creation. You
mm,
cannot have creativity without entropy, without moments where there isn't outward creativity. So it's like life and death. They're one and the same. You can't
mm.
have one without the other. So the same for me, I'm beginning to embody of entropy, melancholy, and also creativity.
Thank you for all that.
Mhm.
Amazing. And then everything that you've experienced leading up to the gestation of metamorphosis and the metamorphosis that you might have had to go through many different times to be able to become someone that could not only be with your own metamorphosis, but be with someone else that could go through their metamorphosis. Because I know with many different life initiations and changes, your stability sphere is the 51.6. And that kind of makes us think stability is shock. What does that mean? Like, how does shock make me more stable? And how is my SQ, the 36, which is crisis and things happening and then conflict? There's a lot of things in the chart that's like, well, how can I have peace with all of this dynamic chaos of the three, like
Mhm.
judgment of the 18? Like, we have so many different shadows, and it can be so easy when we have this internal feeling of nothing's happening, or my life is falling apart, or something is dying. It's so easy to go into the shadow frequencies. So, how have you been able to, in this process of the caterpillar turning into the goo, trusting what's going to emerge after? Like,
Mhm.
how have you like learned to trust this process and to move from, the shadow into the gift, like where compassion or peace or integrity and perfection and all these other great gifts you have in your design? How does one trust that and
Mhm.
cultivate that trust?
I mean, going back to the three, there's no other way but experience. One of my first passion project was birthed a year ago, and it's a kind of a podcast style, if you will. And I named it. What the name that came through was Scar, and it's ultimately means sacred cracks and crevices, right? The turbulence, the agitation, the judgment, all of that pain, all that melancholy, the sacred cracks and crevices, and ultimately, for my lived experience, they're producing these rubies, these pearls. Like I am refined by the challenges that I go through. It's almost like a sculptor, and you're just kind of chiseling away, right, at the bits that are not necessary for this masterpiece that you're
Mm,
creating. Like the chiseling feels painful, right? And at the same time, without it, you don't have the magnificence of this work of art. So there is, the oyster is a important animal for me because it's so symbolic, just like the butterfly. The pearl comes from the irritation of the sand. So you have this beautiful pearl, this magnificent structure that came from irritation. Whenever I see an oyster, that's what I think about, and I think about my life being the same way too, or even the the caterpillar literally kind of dissolving itself in the chrysalis to become this butterfly. Like these transformations,
mm,
it's going to cost you. I think life is going to have a life that is truly a masterpiece. I do believe, given my design, that that's only possible with some serious suffering. And in the Gene Keys community, there is this belief system that I subscribe to now more and more, that suffering is grace. And Ram Dass, one of my most important teachers, he called his stroke fierce grace. And I use that a lot too. Like grace can be fierce and grace can be soft, and it's grace nonetheless. And if you allow it to, it refines you. It's also in the Japanese culture, kintsugi,
mm,
right? These broken bits, and then you repair them. And for me, the repair version is even more beautiful than the perfect version, because you get to see the scars, you get to see the healing. And yeah, and that feels like light. Like, okay, if you
mm.
can do that, if you can go through this turbulence, if you can go through the shock and this agitation and you come out and you're this light being, then I can go through what I'm going through because I see what the possibility is at the other side.
I love that you brought in scars, and I didn't know that about. There's probably many creative projects that you brought through, and they all seem to have been birthed through your third line experience, through what you have gone through, grown through, integrated, and then the wisdom that was on the other side of that to be able to articulate that. Even talking about the sculptor and the refining, because the 23 that you have a couple times. Let's see if there's, yeah, 20. Oh my gosh, I did. If we look at your natal wheel, you can see, that's your attraction sphere, your IC, your Mercury, and your MC. So MC is like our career, our public face, like what we're here to do. And that's called splitting apart. We
Mhm.
have to pull apart the things that aren't essential to get down to the essence, to get down to the core, or the wisdom, or the message and the meaning, and seeing like even in a wheel, seeing what do we have multiples of. We have multiples of the 23, we have multiples of the 46, the love of the body, of the 6. Being able to go from conflict, diplomacy, grace, or sorry, not grace, but yeah, grace is present in all of this, peace, and being able to feel, and then even the 25, being able to have that connection to the divine, to God, being in a body, but also being a spiritual being, like you were saying, the cracks and kintsugi, and even they say the cracks is where the light shines
Mhm.
through. And
Mhm.
so I think that you've made this connection with your SQ, which happens to be the 36, of yes, being human does also entail suffering, but on the other side of that suffering there's deep compassion. There's the ability to be able to come into contact with grace, with the divine, with a higher purpose and a higher plan, and knowing that there is purpose in the pain, which is kind of like your evolution sphere. You know how the evolution sphere kind of cuts through the SQ sphere, and then we get to the radiance? It's almost like a little pathway in and of itself, where we have this experience with that um, 28, the purposelessness, and then coming into the crashing into that 36.1 that you have in your SQ. And it's like the turbulence, the pain, the suffering helps you also uncover the purpose in that pain. And then that's where you can shine through and anticipate and feel into the light at the end of the tunnel. Because at some point or another, we start to feel, oh, the suffering is almost over. You reach that high point of like a lot of pain, and then you start to feel it start to taper down. You're like, oh wow, okay, it's something's happening. It doesn't hurt as much. I'm on the other side of something. And then you start to see, like, okay, what's here? Because the 41 is trying to bring us into contact with, let me go back to this one, the 30, it feeling deeply. This is the fire starter. It's the part of the emotional center. And so the 41 is wanting a new experience. It's anticipating something new. So we can't stay in the comfort zone. We have to go down a path, a new path. Like you said, I'm going to choose that woodland path. I'm going to choose that path. And like being present with it, feeling deeply like what medicine is being offered here. No matter if it's painful or glorious or whatever it is, there's something there because you're in a brand new place. You took the leap. So I'm just like looking at your chart, feeling into your design and your experience, and it makes sense. Oh wow, of course she's bringing through these things, like her creator self, as we call this, the creator within, is going to make gems, make rubies, make oysters, make diamonds out of all of those experiences, and then offer those gems to people, which is your Taurus nature. What has value? Oh, this has value. Let me offer this. It will nourish you and nurture you.
Mhm.
I don't think you mentioned it, but what were the other parts of the word scar?
Mhm. It's sacred cracks, crevices, and rubies.
And rubies. Okay, so
And
it was the and. Okay, yes. Yeah, because I did hear you mention rubies. I was like, oh, the
yeah,
R is rubies. So, yes, cracks and
yeah.
crevices and rubies. That is
Mm.
so amazing and perfect. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about metamorphosis
Mm.
and what people can expect inside of that container. What gem and ruby are you offering them besides, you mentioned slowing down was a big part of that too.
Yeah, slowing down is a huge part of it. Also, another part of it too that I haven't made public necessarily, but I'm feeling will come through the process is something you and I really share, and it's that remembering who you are and self-love.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so utterly important. So much of metamorphosis for me is really me holding space. It really is about coming back to your body, if it's safe to do so, coming back to the present moment, coming back to being where you are, being where your feet is, being where your body is. It's about reflection, journaling. It's about creativity. There's a playfulness in dancing. It's all about you, kind of
Mm.
shedding or at least maybe putting aside, putting on the bookcase for a moment, the identity of caregiver and remembering who you are.
Mm.
It's about remembering your needs. I think sometimes with caregiving, we forget we have needs. I remember being in a workshop and it was all about what do you need? And the question was asked over and over and over again, what do you need? And I remember being a bit taken aback, like, what is this? There was an edge that the facilitator was hitting upon me in terms of what do you need over and over again? How could you make yourself more comfortable? Like that exquisite, delicious self-care,
Mm.
that really resonated with me. And I want to bring that into metamorphosis as well, too. Like you have needs. What are those needs? And fulfilling those needs is even reclaiming what selfish means. Like the shadow of the 27 is selfish, and the shadow for me, when there is this notion of selfish, it's about you need to take care of yourself. It's not balanced. So it's an indicator for me to care. And so that's what I envision with metamorphosis. It's not for everyone. I think it really is for those who are have the ability and opportunity to take 90 minutes every week for 13 weeks to really focus on themselves. And it's for those who have the ability or even the desire to go within or
Mm.
feel safe enough, secure
Mhm.
enough to venture inside or in the present moment and really download or remember or bring to the fore again, who am I again? What do I
Mm.
need? What's important to me? What's missing? Um, what am I feeling? We're going to be spending time delving into the feelings, if you will, again, to the extent that one is safe. But I see it as a haven that we're co-creating and true to my Torian nature, really bringing in all of the senses or as much of the senses as we possibly can. Each group will be different. There is my intentionality to create a space that is for the souls who are in it and what they need at that particular point in time. So I am just so excited to learn. It's a bit of an experimentation, and the three in me is really eager that each one will be different, a different experience, and the core always being self-care and the metamorphosis being perhaps remembering ourselves a little bit more,
Mm.
perhaps creating a ritual. Part of the 13 weeks is establishing a cadence, a ritual
Mm.
for self-care.
The
So
five.
the five,
The ritual, the
exactly,
five.
the
Yeah.
ritual. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. It's going to be so rich, and even sensing into some of the people, the fractal, the people that are coming in.
Mhm.
I'm in your own experience, like being able to have compassion and empathy for those that are going through that time. They might not even know or be able to identify their needs, but
Mhm.
maybe a part of them is coming up that's angry or
Mhm.
sad or whatnot, because they've been so focused on the other and the needs of the other that there has to be a part of them that's like, well, what about me? When's my time? And that can show up as anger in moments, or that can show up as sadness in moments, and we're not sure why, but feeling and being with that, even sometimes rage, because it could be generations of
Mhm.
uh, abandoning the self
Mhm.
for the other. And I know
Mhm.
that you have the 19, which is about needs and about tuning into the tribe, the people that you love, the family, the community. And sometimes it can be hard to tune back into the self. Again, as an Aquarius archetype that is very connected and tuned into the others, it can be hard to then pull back and be like, oh, I have a baseline. I am a person, and let me
Mhm.
tune into what I need, versus being enmeshed in the field, which is the shadow of codependence. Is like, you know, I'm going to anticipate everything you need because of XYZ reason, and then we're not being taken care of either. So I can
Mhm.
see how maybe some people are also needing the reminder of um, why they might need this, because there's a part that brought them into synchronicity with either this video or your work or somebody that you know that's introducing them. It's like they're resonating something, and they may not be able to initially understand why they feel drawn to it, or oh, I'm not a caregiver, or I'm not this, or but there has to be something in you that has either sacrificed, betrayed, abandoned the self. And those are really harsh words, but sometimes
Mhm.
those words need to be said and spoken to be able to be the voice for the part that actually feels that that is true, right?
Yes.
It may not be the whole truth, but that
Yeah.
part is hurting because it does believe it was abandoned. It does believe it was sacrificed or betrayed or whatever the thing is. And so hearing that, feeling that is an important part of the recognition of, oh, wow, this container, this metamorphosis might be for me, even if I don't identify as caregiver or this or that. You may have been conditioned to be that, and you just end up being that, not as a professional role, but in family, in your marriage, with your children. And oftentimes
Mhm.
mothers need this so much too, as well, especially mothers of multiple children. We can't
Mhm.
know what somebody's nervous system is capable of. Sometimes one child is too much. Sometimes one person you're caring for is too much. And some people are taking care of many, many, many people. But it doesn't make any of those nervous systems wrong. It's just, I think, your Aquarius nature that's also tuned into, that nervous system and that fast energy stuff. It's like you're being able to, okay, hold on,
Mhm.
let's slow down, let's tune in, because there's also one other very important person that you're also caring for, yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I appreciate what you shared in terms of using words that might have harsh undertones. One word I use in conversation, and maybe even in the deck, is the word victim. And for me, it's very natural to say, because again, in the Gene Keys world,
Mm-hmm.
we talk about victim, and we talk about leadership, and we talk about victim consciousness. And really, it's about, and if it's a provocative, then it's provocative for a reason. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we don't, like, even in Gene Keys, you read these shadows, and it can be a bit like, what is this selfishness? What is this purposelessness? What is this arrogance with the 31? And I know for me, when there is that type of reaction, if you will, there's information there. If there is that kind of ugh, then I know, okay, let me lean in a little bit and take a look at it, and being very gentle. It's a way in, if you will, very gently. That's the whole key with metamorphosis, is that gentleness and that compassionate, and that, okay, let me slow down and take a breath and kind of feel into what is activating me about this term. And one could back away. It could be that you're not ready yet, but if you're ready and there's a resourcing of your nervous system, what a beautiful opportunity to have a sense of what's going on beneath the surface, what's simmering under there that comes out in ways that are stunning to you, but there's a reason for it.
And having a container to
Mhm.
inquire into what you might need, like knowing
Mhm.
and recognizing the activation or the trigger or the victim or the whatever part is, yeah, I want to be made known. And knowing that you're not alone. You can be
Mhm.
resourced, and people
Mhm.
have gotten through it, gone through it, and you have a community where everybody's wanting the same, to move towards the same goal. So being in a
Mhm.
container in a community is so amazing too, because of when some person has a breakthrough, it kind of ripples through the container. And
Mhm.
also having people, like, when you go to the gym or you go to the group classes and everybody's doing the same thing, and it's like you feel the motivation and the energy of, oh, we're working on our fitness together, oh, we're focusing on this movement or this whatever together. And so that
Mhm.
sense of togetherness also kind of adds to the support and the element of it. We have like a tribe, and we're focused on the same purpose, like giving
Mhm.
it a purpose, and knowing
Mhm.
that that purpose and intention is going to nourish us and help us, um, grow, heal for the better. I The last thing that I wanted to bring in is that 51 that you have as your stability sphere and
Mhm.
that I have as my attraction sphere. And I remember, and I'm a 5-1, and the fifth lines can be really harsh as well. Like it can, the energy in the I need you to do what I'm doing is kind of like, do it now. And
Mhm.
especially with like females and sensitive beings, it can feel so alarming and shocking, like, oh, I'm so open, especially any of the fourth lines we have, I'm so open and soft, and then all of a sudden shock, and it's like it teaches us to close and to
Mhm.
like I have to protect. And I know for me in my journey, growing up with a father that was a 5-1, that was a projector, and projectors just like straight to the heart of things. So if they're sharing harshness, it's like right into your heart, you know, because it's just so penetrating. My husband's a 5-1 projector as well. And something I've learned going through these systems and design is I started to recognize how much I wanted to soften and how much I require gentleness. And it was
Mhm.
something that I didn't often receive. My mother wasn't gentle to herself. My father wasn't a gentle person. So my 51 in the attraction sphere was always like this like, oh, harsh, oh, and then the 6 as my life work, conflict. So it wasn't inherently built in me to like want to soften, put down the sword and the shield, because it was like I I I was not in an environment that it felt like I could soften. And being a sensitive being, it's like you feel everything. Coming as an adult, tuning back into my sensitivities and my intuition and all these subtle senses that I have, I've had to learn how to soften once again and how to request gentleness when
Mhm.
it wasn't being delivered, and being like, I want to stay open with you. I want my heart to be open, but I really require to be talked to, treated to like a delicate flower. Even
Mhm.
if I'm being upset and angry, knowing that at my core, I am a gentle flower and I'm just trying to protect that gentle flower. And I think that even the people that maybe would need this the most are the ones that are saying, I don't need this. Like, I'm tough. But
Mhm.
there's something about this softness that is so rewarding to, as a feminine being able to come back into softness, you
Mhm.
know? So
Yeah.
just speaking to that, as well as a part of me that's like, oh, I can feel the potential and possibility in the container, because gentleness and slowing down and softness is something that I want to cultivate in my own life, but been so conditioned to have the complete opposite of that as a routine.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we can't slow down and change the way we do
Mhm.
things.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's such a beautiful reflection and sharing, Ashley. I think the world we're living in, certain parts of it, there is that harshness. And sometimes in putting Metamorphosis out there, I can feel the energy of like, this is not realistic, gee. Like this is not the real world. And I think, and I just nod and I think, okay, that's a particular perspective, right? Like we have agency, we get to choose how we want to live our lives.
Yeah.
We get to choose where we want to go, and also really appreciating that your interior work allowed you to say, I am this gentle, even as my words can be kind of sharp and decisive and what have you, I am this tender soul.
Mm.
I think we have a hard time as a culture admitting our vulnerability and
Yeah.
how we are soft inside.
Hmm.
So,
And
yeah.
even you pointing towards that soft one inside,
Mhm.
I like there's so much compassion and empathy and like sweetness that you can sense in the soft one, in the tender one, in the beautiful flower inside, and realizing and thanking the part of us that like had to come in front of it and be like, I'll protect you. Like the
Mhm.
protector part that
Yeah.
thought, oh, that part's a victim, let me be the protector. But then we're just like protector, victim, persecutor, like the whole Karpman victim triangle we're just perpetuating. But we're old enough now to advocate for ourselves, to have resources and skills to be able to know, hey, maybe I don't need to operate in this way,
Mhm,
you know?
mhm, mhm.
Anything that you might want to uh, share that you feel like you is alive in you, that you're like, I really want to communicate this about your
Mhm.
program, about a Ruby, that you're like, oh, I'm seeing this and I'd like to offer this. Anything that you feel is alive for you to share.
Well, first and foremost, gratitude to you for this container and for allowing this conversation. And I am also feeling into the 41 and this notion of emanation. And in Creator Studio with you recently, we did a beautiful exercise where I came into contact with my 2-year-old self, the
Mm,
self that was very gentle, very tender, the self that didn't do a lot of talking. And she reminded me of the importance of emanation of energy,
mm,
that there is that communication is not just through the words. There's also the hands, there's also the facial expression, there's the energy. And that feels like it wants to go through as I continue to share metamorphosis and really appreciating that it's the emanation
mm,
that's going to come through. That emanation will bring to the fore those who want to engage. And I think that's true of any creative endeavor. Like once we put it out there, once that energy is out there, it doesn't really belong to us any longer. It really belongs to wherever it lands. Part of this journey for me has been learning to take nothing personally. And it helps me through that perspective that that's not about me. That's the energy coming through the vehicle that the creative endeavor is
mm,
entering. It's not Guirlaine any longer. So really kind of
mm,
letting it go and letting the emanations flow through and trusting that whoever is called to this journey, this container, they will find they will find it. The emanations will go through in ways that I can't even consider. That's
yeah.
how magical and mystical the universe is. So
Mm,
yeah, so that's what's coming through the forward to share.
thank you. And in besides the emanations, is there anywhere that people can find you?
Mm,
Like
mm, mm, mm.
Instagram,
Yeah.
Facebook? Do you
Mhm.
have a website for anything? Like,
Yeah.
where can people find
Yeah.
you aside from
Indeed.
the emanation that's calling them? Like, they're like, I want to talk to Guirlaine. Like, how do they connect to you?
Indeed, indeed. I mean, I'll start with just saying first email. I'm a very one-to-one person, and so having conversation is so key. And so my email address is grand merci, grand with the e at the end, merci like the French thank you, MERCI at gmail.com. Please feel free to reach out, and I will happily send you the Metamorphosis deck. On Instagram. I love Instagram. My handle is Belizaire Agency _. So please feel most welcome to reach out. I'm also on LinkedIn and Facebook. And I can give you so Metamorphosis, the website would be metamorphosis13.lovable.app.
Okay,
So use a little bit of artificial intelligence to help co-create
perfect.
this website, but really would love to have human to human interaction
Yeah,
in keeping with metamorphosis, slowing down and creating community early on. So
wonderful. And we'll have all those links in the show notes too, so everybody can find you through the appropriate medium, whether they want to go through one avenue or another avenue. They can go in the path of least resistance and the best place that they want to go in.
indeed.
And yeah, I do wish you well on this launch phase and this preparation to bring in the 13 souls. Like, remember, it is a limited container. Not everyone will be able to come in here. So if you do feel the call, definitely reach out. When do you begin? When does this begin?
We begin the first week of September after Labor Day, so in
Beautiful.
about a month or so.
After
Mhm.
Labor Day, after now we have labored and now we rest and now we slow down and
In keeping with the
appropriate.
fall season, right? We're beginning
Yes.
to kind of rest. Yeah. Hmm.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
on Illuminated Design and sharing the creator within you, and just so grateful for the gems that showed up on this call, and for also being able to illuminate your own design and share parts of your journey and parts of your chart, and just allowing it to flow so wonderfully in this space and intuitively. And I'm so grateful to be able to have you on here and to introduce you to the audience. And I pray that those that need you find you and then connect with you.
Mhm. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for the support you provide creators, because I'm learning from my experience, this would not be able to come through without community.
Mm,
And so thank you for
mm.
providing and leading and guiding that community.
Yeah, thank you for being part of Creator Studio and honoring the creator within you, and knowing that on the other side of metamorphosis, people are bringing through a new version, a new part of themselves. So to be a match, to hold the pose, to stay the course for that emanation that is starting to come through them as well. Like there's
Mhm.
something new
Yeah.
emerging. What is that? What does it need? And I love that you have created a space for that to be served, to be serviced, to be nurtured and nourished as it's coming out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome.